Learn through the hard way, exercise 45. We're doing another little break where you're actually going to use the RingBuffer and some of the other elements of this little library you're creating to create a simple network client. So you're going to learn to use the select method and a RingBuffer to write a simple command line network client. But what I'm also going to do is show you in the code review how to combine the light impression code review with the formal code review. Okay, so first off, how select works. For whatever reason, people find select just sort of strange, but it's really simple. Okay, you are creating sets. So imagine it's like, in Python, you'd create a list of all the integers that represent open files. Okay, so it can be open sockets, it can be open files from the command line, or from open functions or whatever. Because remember, within a Unix system and also within C, files can be represented by just a single number. So that's what a file descriptor is. Now what you do is you can create sets of these and then call one function that tells the operating system, whenever this list of file descriptors is active for a read, let me know. And what it will do is it will take that set and it will flag all the ones that are active for read or write or error and give a little timeout if you want. And then you can go and read from those sockets. So with that in mind, you can then do all sorts of dynamic things, but you're not sitting around, you're not like using CPU to determine, or using processing to determine if you can read from something. You don't have to poll it. Instead, you wait when the OS says, hey, you have something to read, you go and you do your read, you come back. Okay, so it's a select loop. Now I'm going to show you a project that does this in a very nice way. And I believe it's now it's somewhere else. Yes, it's here. So libuv is sort of a way more advanced version of the select loop you're going to do right here. So if you wanted to get really deep into this, you could use that. But first, I recommend you learn to use select. Now, if you're interested in learning TCP/IP program, we're going to use a lot of that at the end, and I'll mention this before. But a book I recommend is Effective TCP/IP by John C. Snyder. And Effective TCP/IP by John Snyder is a decent book. It's an old book, so some of the code is due to kind of be changed out as soon as IP version 6 becomes, a thing. But it's almost like learn network programming the hard way, because he just goes through 43 kind of tips, but they're more like an exercise. And you learn network programming, and that's sort of the basics of it. So I would say if you want to get decent at this, grab that book. At the end of this course, I mention a lot of other books too. So now, with that in mind, reading through the code and going through the code, you're going to learn a lot about how select loops work and why they work. But if you want to research more, then read the man pages and grab that book I just mentioned. And now let's discuss better code reviews. Okay, so code review. The thing about code review is if you do it cold, then it's a little slower. But if you warm up with sort of an impression code review, a quick glance code review, a scan, then that makes the code review go a little slower. So we're going to augment the code review process. And I'm going to go through net client. And the difference is when I do a formal code review, I start at the entry point, which is main. But when I do a scan, I start at the top. And then what I'm looking for is anything weird. So I'm looking for anything where I'm doing too much stuff or I don't know quite what that is. So I'm going to start at the top. Okay, so I'm like, okay, that's okay. Now let's see, F control, got to make sure that's the thing. Okay, that's setting non-block. That's fine. I'm getting my address info. Okay, I got to confirm that pointer there. And I might drop comments for anything I think is a bug. Okay, and then I get my socket. That's my connection. Call non-block on it, and I free it. Okay, so now I'm doing read sum. That's an available buffer data. And then I commit it. Okay. Calling receive and read. Okay, oh, here's something. This is weird. Okay, why is this not part of RingBuffer? Bug. Okay, yeah, so I'm not sure why I have to do that there. Why am I doing this? Why is that not part of RingBuffer? Okay, because that looks weird. Why am I having to do my own, yeah, why do I have to do this? I'm not sure. Okay, so, okay, there, return that. Find and replace. Okay, yeah, so, because what I want to do is I want to replace all the new lines with CRLF and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's fine. But I'm not sure, why am I doing that? I need, I guess it's just because it's kind of a standard protocol-y thing. Okay. So write some, and that comes out there, and I'm sending on the buffer. Okay, that's fine. That looks all good. Okay, so now I'm going through main. I create a ring buffer, create a sock buffer. I do my little client connect. Oh yeah, I'm not, okay, so yeah, here we go. Bug. Check the command line args. So I need to, because I'm just using them, I should check it. That's super bad. Okay, so now I'm masking out the zeros and doing the set, and I run my select loop. That comes back good, giving me a number of selects, and then I do if it's set on read, if it's set on write. I'd call read sum, and in RB, okay, yeah, because I'm doing 0 is my standard in file descriptor, and socket is the file descriptor I got for the socket. Okay, so that's good. And then if it's not empty, write it, and if it's not empty, do that. Okay, and that keeps going until I hit Control-C. Okay, so that's my first pass that I'm doing on this. Great. So now I can do a more formal code review. And I won't do a complete one, but what I would do then for a more formal code review, I might take some notes. I might think, okay, do I want to do the refactoring first? Like, do I want to find out why I'm doing that first, or I just want to do a code review? I prefer to actually do the code review and confirm all the fixes so that the code is solid. But if I'm going to change a whole whack of it, then I'm probably going to want to just go and do the changes and then go back and do the code review again. This is the advantage of doing an impression code review first, is I can do an impression code review and go, yeah, this isn't good. I'm going to rip this out first, and then do a formal code review and check that it's clean. Okay, so now formal code review time. Okay, so bug. Oh, hey, I actually did do it up there. Cool, all right. So that is not a bug. Let's just move that together so I can actually see it. Okay, arguments are checked. I would say, I would probably do, nah, I guess that's fine. Okay. Okay, confirmed. I'm going to do the man page, fd0, takes an fd set. Okay, that's fine. fd set sets it all reads and all writes, because what I'm doing is I'm putting that socket into the all reads set, so it will trigger an all reads set. Okay, and I've set it to non-blocking. If is set, okay, if is set. All right, here we go. Let's check this. Come in, select on that socket. Oh, actually, I am not really paying attention. I missed this because I was talking about that bug. Okay, so jump into there. Okay, address info. Get address info. I want to check the parameters to that. It takes a host name, a server, a struct for hints, and a result. And it's a pointer to a pointer for the result. Okay, there we go. And that's basically an out parameter, that last parameter. Okay, and then I do socket. So I'm going to look up the man page for socket. This crafts a socket for me. So I want the domain, the type, and I don't care about the protocol apparently. Okay, and then I want to do a connect. So let me confirm the parameters to connect. I'm coming in and doing sock address, sock len. All right, that looks good. Sock address, sock len. Okay. And then I'm setting it non-block. So let's jump into non-block. Flags, F control. I'm going to check this. Now this is mostly just kind of socket programming lore that I'm doing here. So yeah. Okay. So getting the flags back. What happens is you get the flags back from the socket, then you OR in the one you want, which is non-block. And what a non-blocking socket does is it lets you read, but if there's no data in it, it returns right away. Or it just returns whatever data is there, so you're not blocked by it. And that's what you have to have with a select loop. Okay, so F control, That is right. Pop out of that. Free address info. I want to get the thing for it. Okay, we're good with that. And if there's an error, it returns it. Oh, but this should be if address, because I'm not sure if free address info can take it, so I'm going to do it. Okay, pop out of that. Continue on. Select. I want to confirm the select loop options. So I'm in a while loop and I'm selecting. So that's it. So read file descriptors, the write file descriptor, read mask. I'm not caring about writes, and I'm not caring about errors, and I'm not caring about a timeout value. Okay, the purpose of the timeout value, the last thing, is so that you can have a select loop that only waits for, like, say a sub microsecond or whatever, and does some other processing. And a lot of what they call green threads use this method to make fake threads. Okay, so now if is set, let me just confirm that is being used correctly. Is set takes a pointer to that. Okay, read some. I already scanned this, but let's go look. And this is the one where I had the, do I need this? I would go and confirm, why do I need that? But for the most part, that's good. And available data. Okay, that's good. And receive. Now, on most Unix systems, you can just call read, but to be portable, you want to do receive on sockets, read on things that aren't sockets. Because there's extra flags you can pass to receive. Okay, read. I want to confirm that. And, I don't really have to confirm that because that's the common one, but keep in mind, if I didn't want to make this read sum a little more portable, because the idea was that maybe I would pull it into RingBuffer and just be done with it, that's what I would write. Because if I had pulled it out, then I want to be able to have it work on files or sockets. Okay, so, and then commit write. That's all it's doing, is just moving the pointer or the end and the beginning around, and I have my error. Okay, now I jump back up. Is socket read sum. I'm doing a debug. Write sum. So write sum, I come in, I make sure that I get all the data, because I'm going to try and write it to the socket. I'm going to send it, and I check that it equals the length of the data, and if not, destroy. This is debatable. I could say that it was, if I checked it, okay, so here, let me just do this, bug. I could say instead, put unread amount back in the ring buffer. And then the other thing is I could say to do, don't use B strings, just use the buffer directly. So that's what I could do. Okay, so that's pretty much good on that. And there we go. I did a code review of the net client. And it sort of was, even though I was talking along the way so that you don't get bored just watching me do it, it was a good strategy to do sort of a review. So that way, when I get to this, I know, hey, I've already flagged that, so I just need to make sure that I'm using that correctly. And also it helped me sort of understand the code a little bit better. Okay, improving it. These read functions are pretty useful, so I can put them in RingBuffer if I want, but I keep them in this because then I show you how to use the net client code later on to make a server. So that's useful. Extra credit, as I mentioned, there are quite a few functions you may not know about, so look them up. Go back through and add various defensive programming checks. Use getopt to allow users to set options, and just try and do like getopt, and do you want to translate the new line and the RN. That's a thing that happens in most protocols. Old protocols, you had to do the carriage return line feed because that's just the way all computers were at the time. But now you don't need to do that anymore. So make it optional. That's the end of exercise 45.